all the time. And so, all right, so I'm Robert Beal, and you were watching an episode of the Bealcast podcast. And so today I am joined. I wanted powerful men to spend time with today, and so I've got Josh Geary, who is a good friend of mine and been my personal trainer for a number of years. And the way that I look is nothing to do with him on his end of the process. And then Mike Niemeyer, realtor at RE/MAX Revolution, who I've done a few podcasts with, and but you have something in common with him. You started in the weight training game.
I did, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I went from training to real estate, so we got a similar background. Cool.
All right, that's cool. Yeah, and so so how did you, Josh, when you decided to get into training? How did you decide to do that? What was kind of the path of the motivation for that?
So at the time, I was working at a sheet metal shop full time doing that, building signs. So we built big stuff for Walmart, Harris Casino, and that kind of stuff. And at that time, business was getting slow again, and I'd been previously laid off. So I was really into fitness, got myself into good shape with a personal trainer, learned a lot about fitness and nutrition, which I didn't know a whole lot about. And then that kind of got me started on my path to getting my personal training certification, and then starting at the rec center in Lenexa. Yeah. And just kind of been on that ever since.
Yeah. And so did you, so you were building signs. When you say building signs, was this how were you building a sign?
From raw materials. So we had just sticks of aluminum or 4x8 sheets of aluminum, and we would cut it down, build it.
Is there welding and shit? Okay. That's cool.
So it was just all.
Cool. Yeah. That's a powerful man right there.
Yeah. That's not the type of stuff I do, but okay. All right. So, because I think it's interesting that, does anybody just start in personal training? Is that what you did or?
I feel like a lot of people, maybe you have a different experience, but I feel like a lot of trainers had some kind of sports background or something. So it felt kind of this natural transition to, I was always in athletics or sports, and that's kind of what I live and breathe. So that's what I want to do as a profession. Right. And a lot of people end up trying to be athletic coaches or something like coaching a team or being an athletic trainer at a professional level is kind of what I see a lot of the normal industry. Not my case at all. I was a skateboarder. I played a little bit of t-ball back when I was 5, but other than that, just skateboarding. And then I actually kind of just a lost dog, just trying to figure out what I was going to do.
I just love the idea of you thrashing it up all over Clay County.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Me at Pleasant Valley, dude. Yeah, every night.
Awesome. What was it back in the day? Skate or die?
Yeah, exactly.
Skate or die, dude.
Exactly. I got some pictures. My Justin Bieber skater hair, So
I wish I'd had hair like that at one point. But okay. So
my story was I was just always this tall, lanky, awkwardly built guy, and I had an extra credit in high school. So I was like, well, I have no idea how to lift weights or anything at all, and I think that'd be cool. Maybe the chicks will like me more. More confidence. Blah blah blah. So I joined a weight training class, and my weightlifting coach was terrible. Literally, the deal.
Wasn't strong or didn't know what he was doing.
So strong that he just assumes everybody knows how to barbell squat. So right. One of the football players, and again, I was friends with the football players and all those guys. I just didn't do that, but I was oh yeah, my buddies are in weight training. I'll go do that too. So my buddy Jack gets up to show us how to squat. Does 5 reps, and now it's all right, max out time, and I'm so yeah, it's I don't even know how to put a bar on my back. So obviously embarrassing, right? Terrible numbers, no idea what I'm doing. So I make a little bit of progress through that semester of weight training. I started to see a little bit of results. But then I graduated high school. So then I was okay, I'll just join the community center, North Kansas City Community Center. During the summer, I just started kind of getting into working out and, just going down that path. At that time, no idea what I was going to do college-wise, right? I never took an ACT. Literally, I never thought about what I was going to do after high school, right? I was just smoking weed and skateboarding, right? So so I started to just kind of get addicted to fitness, just doing general education at community college. I failed a math class and decided to drop out of community college.
Right on.
Didn't know what I was going to do. And then
I rarely use math. Like when they tell you like you need to know that stuff, I rarely use it.
We're in like the math business too, a little bit.
And go on.
And you always have a calculator with you.
That's true.
Yeah, they said we never would, but we did.
Right on.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
if Alexa just starts like jacking with me, but most of the time I feel like she's solid when I just shout out whatever it is I need to know.
Yeah, so then I ended up seeing a commercial for like basically like a personal training trade school. It was Heritage College. I don't know if you'd ever heard of that. It's kind of like Wellspring is
Wellspring is
so basically it's like a 15-month program where you go to class Monday through Friday, and you do like half your day is like in the classroom, like learning, you know, biomechanics, kinesiology, exercise science, nutrition, blah, blah, blah. And then the second half of the day would be like in the gym, right? So we'd have like a classroom that was a gym, and we would practice like hands-on training, right? So we would practice like basically applying the stuff that we had just learned. So
did you do anything like that?
No, mine was I did all mine online.
Well,
and it was just
I felt played because like I hadn't really looked into it too much, and I paid $20,000 for this like school, and I'm like, oh wait. I'm like, wait, you can just get your NASM certification online in 3 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you describe that class, I think it's is it Napoleon Dynamite, where the brother is like learning kung fu or something like that. I think of like, and so you fell for that shit.
Basically,
right on.
As soon as he said, "You want a roundhouse to the kick in the face of these bad boys?" No, but I will say, like, I don't regret doing that at all because it was a lot more in depth than just reading the stuff online, right? Because, like, actually, my youngest brother, he also got his NASM certification and like had no idea what to do. Like, basically, like, kind of like the meme you sent me the other day with the real estate school.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with personal training, right? You read all this stuff, you pass the test, and you're like, oh shit, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And so the fact that I was able to like get my hands dirty with it, like I'd been training, quote unquote, for like a year before I even got my certification. That's actually how I got into my first job, because you have to do a 3-month internship to pass. And so one of my instructors had a contact for this little boutique studio in Westport. And so that's actually how I got my job, my first training job. So
what was that one?
It's called Synergy Fitness Studio.
Okay.
Really, really small spot. It's just the owner. He just needed like a part-time trainer. And so basically it was kind of like a circuit type of deal where like we had like 1,000-foot studio and just like some stations, and like people would just kind of funnel in. So like you come in, there's like preset stations, and I'm basically like a glorified babysitter, right?
Yeah,
like
just like coaching them.
Exactly. Making sure the form is good, you know, chit chatting, you know, all that type of stuff, and asking any question or answering any questions. So I actually did that for like 4 years.
Yeah.
And in between, it was always part-time. So like I also worked at, during that time, I worked at a powerlifting gym. It was Impact Gyms at the time. Now it's OGKC. Yep. I also worked at 9-round kickboxing. I worked at, where else did I work at? I worked at 24-Hour Fitness, off 119th and Metcalf for a while. So kind of just all over the place. And then the way I got into Wellway, which is where my training career like really started to blow up, was my manager at Impact. This new gym, this bougie gym, was opening up in Liberty. He got a job up there, and like 3 months later, he called me. He's like, dude, like you can sell training left and right here. He's like, I made a lot of promises to you over at Impact about, you know, us building up this new location, blah, blah, blah. Like all that stuff fell through. I feel like I owe you one. So like I want to like get you in over here. And then he ended up quitting like 3 months later to move to Texas. And he moved to Texas and gave me his full book of business. So within 3 months, I was completely booked. And like basically from that time on, and I worked there for 5 years, just like basically always the number one trainer there for the most part. So it was quite a
that's what's
thing.
up.
Well, what was your path like?
Mine was not that in depth. Really, honestly, I was working full time and going to school, doing this online program, and then all my like hands-on training, I felt like I got from the trainers that I worked with. Like when I would do my training, I wouldn't just go through it and like do the exercise or do whatever. I would ask them like, why are we doing this? What's this doing for me? Or what is this fixing? What's this correcting? And I feel like that really gave me a lot of information to apply when I actually went to go do the training.
Well, and I can speak to this because like he's been my trainer, and it's really interesting because when we started, I think it was like 2018 when we first started working together. Yeah. And like, I mean, things were starting to get, you know, a little shaky, like in the marriage, and, you know, and I'm like, you know, so let's start making some changes. So I started working out, but I came came to it from a like an educated way. Like I wasn't like wanting to get ripped. Like I started messing around with like intermittent fasting and things like that, and I just started becoming like aware of like health. Like my feet were hurting. There was just a lot of things that I was doing, and so I thought like I could be disciplined and not eat. That's a pretty low bar. I can figure that out. And I just started like shedding weight, and then I was like, the logical thing is to start working out then, right? And so we would get together. We started working at the rec center because I was living in Shawnee, and you spoke to that. Like I could have that conversation. Because we would have been listening to some of the same podcasts, and you always do a good job of explaining it because when I think of like what it was going to be like with a personal trainer, I just thought he'd be like, yeah, tuck your butt, do this, whatever, like that. I didn't actually understand there was going to turn into like I was going to learn stuff, you know.
Yeah. And for me, I feel like that's what I do differently than maybe some other trainers do, or their styles are differently. My goal for most people is just to get them moving better and better. The weight loss, that kind of stuff is just like a byproduct of it. And if you're moving and feeling better, you're going to just be able to go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting having like the most stressful times in my lives or my life, have, there's involved a transition from like sedentary to movement. To just be in a situation where like, I don't know, I'm just going to start hiking a bunch now. Maybe that'll make a difference, or, and yeah, movement seems to like solve a lot of problems, or at least it's kind of like delay some of those problems. And so, I just realized I got 2 wedding bands on.
She's double locked down.
She just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, that's sort of comical. Okay, so all right, so you're at the rec center. So I mean, how long have you been at the rec center?
I've been in there since 2017.
Okay,
and probably just a couple months shy of them opening.
Yeah,
and worked my way up, put in a lot of extra positions as well, doing like manager positions, things like that.
Yeah.
And then ultimately was able to move into a full-time position there, doing fitness supervisor. So like I was talking before, now I get to train the trainers, like help them be better, give them advice, help them not go down with my shortcommings too.
Yeah.
And just try to guide them almost like children.
Yeah, it's well,
it's funny, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that like there is something to kind of passing that down, that knowledge down like orally and having conversations with people and modeling it, because again, it's it's our bodies and like the different shapes that we can get into. So no, I mean, I think for me, the big thing with the personal trainer was like, I felt like I would be accountable to like showing up to somebody.
Sure.
Like if I get like, I hate being in the house. Like if I'm in the house, I'm just going to be like watching racing or something like that. But if I get up and I leave the house, I tend to be more productive, even though it's all over town, but I tend to be more productive. And so, now I've had some issues because, maybe it's too cold now that I'm 50 or whatever, but like, but I certainly benefit from it. And so, now you decided, I mean, you did it, you were successful, and you decided to make a change into real estate. And so, why did you feel like that would be a good move? I mean, other than the money and all that type of stuff, but why did you think the skills would transfer?
I mean, there was really 2 like major factors that made me totally switch careers. First was that, I was telling you a little bit off camera, like, once for me training at the company that I was with, I basically capped out. So, you can only train so many people per hour. And so once I did that and I had this full, training schedule, and it's not just like a 9 to 5, right? It's like 5 to 10 and then 4 to 8 or something like that, right? So like you have these long ass days that are spread off, middle of the day's downtime, eat your lunch, get your own workout in, maybe do like some programming and stuff. So that was all fine while I was, single or just have a girlfriend or whatever. But I really just started to feel kind of burnt out with the schedule. And so I was like, okay, how do I start maximizing my time as a trainer? And so that's whenever I started switching to small group training. And so I actually started training like multiple people at one time. So I created this class called Barbell Basics, where basically I teach people how to, it's basically a ripoff of Starting Strength from Mark Ripito, where so just teaching people.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, it's cute that you guys do, but I don't know.
So basically teaching people how to do like the basic barbell movements, right? So like I've always felt like, for me, a barbell was always like the most efficient and like the most effective for me. But a lot of people are intimidated by a barbell, or maybe they don't have the mobility yet, or that whole thing. So it's like this whole like mobility class with strength training, and here's all the substitutions. Like if you can't get a bar on your back yet, then like I actually like built like these whole like squat wedges for people for ankle mobility restrictions, and like kind of teaching them how to like go up. Like if you can't barbell squat yet, then you need to start here.
Yeah.
And then as you get stronger and more mobile, then you can start progressing it up, right? So I built that up, and like it got really crazy. Like I was doing like 13 grand a month in revenue with Barbell Basics. And so I talked to my CEO and I was like, hey, how do we, like, basically the gym members were getting mad at me because for taking all the squat racks. And so I was like, hey, how can we, like, we need more equipment or something. Like I can't keep doing this because like everybody's getting mad at me. And he's like, no, you're capped out. Like just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. And so, you know, being kind of like entrepreneurial, like I didn't like hearing that, right? Like I kind of like hit my ceiling. So I just kept doing that. I was like, okay, I don't know, maybe I'll go open my own gym or whatever, right? And then kind of at the same time, COVID started happening, and I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And so my health started to decline pretty quickly. I lost like 70 pounds in like 3 or 4 months. I looked like...
Which I was trying to do at the same time.
Right, yeah. I looked like complete dog shit, like super anemic, like almost like passing out and stuff. So I just started to question, like, what's the longevity of training for me? As far as like, okay, if my body's kind of like, I don't know, I didn't know what the future was going to look like for me at that point. I was like, God, my quality of life was so terrible. So one of my clients actually was into real estate, and she said, hey, and I was just talking to her about my frustrations and like, hey, I really don't know what to do. Like I have to keep missing days of work all the time, and like, or like I have to cancel a bunch of sessions all the time, which obviously isn't great for client retention and all that stuff. Right. So I was like, okay, this training isn't working out for like what I'm dealing with right now. So she had been really successful at Remax selling real estate. And so she said, hey, you should, like, you're great with sales, you're great with people. I think real estate might be a good idea for you. And I had always been interested in real estate because my dad was always like pretty handy. I loved watching HGTV, you know, that type of stuff. And then again, the money side of it, just seeing these people, you know, on these TV shows that would make like 60 grand in like, you know, a few months or whatever. I'd be like, what the heck? So I was like, okay, I'll go check that out. So that's kind of why I started like exploring real estate. And then for my first year in real estate, I was part-time. I was training full-time, building up the real estate thing. And then once real estate really started to take off, I decided to take the leap and go all in.
Yeah. But in terms of real estate, I mean, the skill set from the training.
Oh, I mean, what do I think the skill set?
Yeah. What do you...
I mean, they're both people businesses, right? So it's you're both businesses, you're working with clients. It's all about relationship. So I feel like if you're, like you were saying, right? If you're personable, if you can like really relate with people, if you can really hear what people are saying and what they need, I mean, that's going to translate to anything where you're working with people. So it could have been real estate, or it could have been anything really. I just, the real estate, the time freedom and the financial freedom really like appealed to me, but I feel like I could have applied that people skill set to a number of businesses.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like when I think, so for me personally, again, like I was going through stuff, like I was in a transitionary period of my life where stuff was happening. And so now I'm starting to like make changes physically. And I think a lot of times people, when they like do get serious about fitness, it's because there's it could just be they want to lose weight, but there's other factors contributing to it. Yeah. And so you're spending time with people in these like kind of precarious like periods of their lives. And for me, like this dude knows like almost everything that happened to me for like a 3-year period. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like we were talking off camera, you get a lot of stuff dumped on you sometimes, and you may not be ready for that.
Yeah.
Or like,
I just imagine like this trainer like walking outside the backside, propping the back door open and just like burning one.
Yeah,
like,
a quick cigarette between clients. Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you learn a lot about people, and there's like a special relationship I feel like between your clients and a trainer. It's like,
yeah, if you have those long-term people, those are the ones. And I have a few of them that I've worked with for years, like Robert, and I don't really consider them like clients or friends.
He's like a friend, yeah.
And like we go hang out, like we'll go have breakfast, or like we'll go do something, or like a group of us will get together and go have dinner or something. We've done that before. And it's just like, oh, okay. And I'm trying to teach the younger trainers to build that community, because that's how they can network and continue to grow.
Yeah. And build a referral.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So.
man, it's so funny to me. I mean, it made sense to me, the connections between personal training, right? Because selling cars, you're just talking to people, right? That made sense to me. But what I think is interesting, that you were just talking to was like the networking and just how much like it's just about everything is networking. Everything is connecting. Everything is like this kind of like relationship sales, and it's yeah, I mean it makes sense, but I had not thought about that in the way that you're talking about, like, growing your business as a trainer.
I don't think I would have been as successful as I've been in real estate so far if I hadn't have trained for. I built such a massive like sphere of influence, like people that like know and trust me because of, again, it's a very vulnerable thing, right? People don't want to know how much you weigh or what your personal problems are and all that type of stuff. So the fact, like the high level of trust that I've built with people, it just makes sense that like they trust me and they're like, oh, now Michael's doing real estate. Like, of course I'm going to use him because like I know this dude, like, this dude see me in my worst. There's been some stuff. I almost said something I don't want to say it on camera in case she watches this, but like, there's been some nasty stuff happen on, during a training. I'll say it off camera, but
and
you get close with people.
Sometimes it gets a little too close. Like you're just like, oh, okay. But in the moment, you just have to.
Did you guys get hit on a lot in that deal?
I mean, not really. I mean.
Oh
no!
Okay.
I mean,
my arms were never big enough. So
and just being honest, I've never, like, my normal like clientele that I work with are 40 and up.
Yeah.
And most of them are married, like and like nothing.
Right on.
But there's never been any like weird situations with me. I've had other situations with other trainers that's happened, but that was just like one of those weird moments of like, okay.
Yeah, but you're a good looking guy. It'll come. Anyway, I'm sorry, I can't remember what did I interrupt just then?
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't come, right?
I'm happily taken.
Right. What were we talking about before I made that that ridiculous
that pivoting? So we're like talking about how sometimes you just have to pivot in life, and like those moments when you're with your trainer, like you're talking about stuff, and sometimes you have that aha moment in the middle of a session where you're just like, okay, I know what decision I need to make. And I'm pretty sure you guys have had that situation when you're working out maybe with me or on your own or doing your thing, and you're just like stressed and you're processing things. And sometimes by the time you're done, you're like, okay, I got a clear picture of what I want to do, because you can kind of work through it and kind of internalize and process.
So are either of you guys like diagnosed like ADHD or any of that type of stuff?
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't think anybody needs to be. I think if you basically grew up with Saturday morning cartoons, you are functioning with that. That's a thing. And I think that part of our issue, and like now we're going to sound like a real podcast, but like part of the issue is like we just don't do the stuff that like our bodies were designed to do on like a daily basis. Like we just do not burn the energy that we need to. And so, in a lot of ways, it's just kind of getting back to like the basics, like just 100%. Move your body. And because it does make a difference. So when I was going through my separation with my second marriage, I just got on this thing where I just started hiking. I just I would get up on a Sunday and I would drive. I'd find something on a map 2 hours away, and then I just hike all day in the heat, just miserable. I never did it. And it was just like, I was consumed by it. I did it nonstop.
I remember that, like, because you'd tell me you went out to Manhattan.
Walked
out. I remember that. That was a big time.
It was.
And when you're talking about movement and all that stuff, movement's medicine.
Yeah.
That's what it is. For our bodies, for our brains, for our hearts, everything. It's medicine.
Yeah. My wife is always like, let's go for a walk, and I mean, most of the time it's just a dumb thing to refuse. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what am I? No, I'm going to play this video game. Or no, I'm going to I'm going to, I don't know, work on this pre-approval, I mean, it's just a dumb thing to turn down, especially because she's like just cooking me like gourmet meals that are super healthy all the time. And for me to be like, I'm not going to go around the block with you. Sorry.
Yeah.
But it makes a huge difference. Just that movement. And I found that, and when I was at MBKC before I am at Fountain now, there were a couple things that happened that really kind of pissed me off. And I just got out of the office and I went to this park and I just lapped it 2 or 3 times, and it just seemed like I was like, but so much of our lives are just not built about moving at any given time.
Yeah, I think it's the whole culture or society that we live in now. It's like it's inconvenient to work out, right? Because like we are in front of screens all day. We're staring at our phones. We drive in cars. Like we run through the drive-through, right? So it's so easy not to be healthy that like you have to really put forth an effort to be healthy. That it's just this big obstacle for people. And I feel like a lot of people, like you were saying, like there has to be some like really big life change for you to like really like change your behavior, right? There has to be some kind of aha moment for you to say, okay, I don't like where this is heading. I want to head this way. And I feel like until people actually realize that or have that moment, they're just going to keep, going down that path until eventually there's a health issue or, the genes don't fit or whatever. And then they realize, oh crap, maybe I haven't been taking care of myself. I need to start doing this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But it's interesting how it all goes together.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes, for me, I was stressed. Like I can't control anything else, but I can't control like what I'm doing with my body for a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just like, you make that one change there and it can very quickly snowball into like a lot of like positive changes.
Yeah.
And, but then you go on vacation, I mean, and then it's, like we spend 4 days in Mississippi and I come back and it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And the older you get, that shorter the gap is more devastating, right?
Yeah. And
like
the harder it is to start.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I could have gone like a week and like been fine. And well, I say a couple of years ago, like 10 years ago or whatever. But now it's like I mean, we were supposed to get together this morning, and I was like, I did. I had a meeting, but I booked it, and I knew what I was doing. I shouldn't have done that, But now, I missed that opportunity, and and so, but you have to make it a priority
For sure.
I feel like I'm better than nothing.
Yeah, yeah. And like I used to never miss a workout. Like when I worked at the gym, like it was like I had like the programming was like on point. Like I had all my days and like my sets and my reps, and I had my logbook of tracking everything. And I'm beaten last week by 5 pounds or an extra rep or whatever. Now, dude, if I can even make it in the gym 3 times a week, it's like a win for me because like it's just harder now. I have a family and I don't work in the gym anymore, so like I have to like either go early in the morning or on my lunch break or something. And so like, I mean, I've made it twice this week so far. Knock on wood, I make it tomorrow. But like last week, I didn't go at all, right? So it's like it's like being a quote unquote like normal person now. It is much harder to like make fitness a priority sometimes.
Yeah.
Now that I'm not a trainer.
Are you
and same.
Are you able to work out? Like
yeah, I mean, I'm at the gym every day.
Right, but you're able to like get your time taken care of.
Sometimes. I mean, it's like any other job now because it's not just doing personal training. It's actually like doing all the back end stuff, and there's a lot, and we're just getting busier and busier, and more stuff is getting kind of pushed onto my plate, which is good. I mean, it's my job, and I love doing it, and but there are days where there's 2 or 3 days in a row, like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go home at like 5 o'clock or whatever time it is. It's like, no, I put my time in. Let's go.
Yeah.
And home life is much different now than what it was when I first started training. Relationships different, so, and we've talked about that, during training, when life at home is different, then it's easier to go home. You want to go home, or there's like that, just we grow and change. So then, our priorities change too.
Well, what I find now is I've actually had, stuff sucks, so you're active. I've had the opposite, been like, things are great.
Yeah.
Let's just stay here on the couch and watch another episode of Alias or something. You know what I mean?
And that's kind of where I'm at. Like I have this like internal struggle with myself where I'm like, hey, you need to be hitting it hard. You're 42. Like you need to be just setting yourself up for the rest of your life. And my body's talking back to me saying, you know what, you need to slow down a little bit. Like you're hurting, slow it down. And now it's kind of hard to get that spark and that motivation going again. Where it's like, let's hit it real hard. But it's finding that balance and holding yourself accountable, but not also putting this unsurmountable pressure on yourself to perform.
Yeah.
Well, I think that my wife will say that like, I'm better when I have a mission. Do you know what I mean? Which my mission is like, growing my business. But like, I mean, whatever your, you need something, right? You need some sort of driving, motivating factor. But I think, so were you ever like competitive in any way? I mean, because I assume like.
I did powerlifting, and then also did men's physique, which is not the Speedo, the board shorts.
Okay.
Did did well in it. Competed in my age groups. I wasn't going against the young kids because I was 35 and older at the time. So I didn't really feel like I had anything to prove to a 20-year-old. So it's just to prove it to myself that I could do it. And I actually loved it. And I built some good programs at the rec center with powerlifting and had some good success with it.
Yeah. I mean, did you lift competitively?
No, I never had a desire to do like a show or anything. I had played around with maybe doing a powerlifting meet, but
so just so we're clear, I never lifted competitively.
Okay. No, I had thought about maybe doing a meet, but for me, like the mission was more just like personal, like again, just progressive overload, right? Like, oh, this is what I did last week. I want to do this week. And then really the business. Like I've always just like obsessed over like developing business. So like I feel like if you go down like the competitive route, it's like you're really worried about like prepping all your food and, you know, making sure you're maximizing sleep and all this stuff. And I'm up at like writing like my barbell basics ebook because like I'm just like so amped about like how much revenue I can bring in, all this stuff, right? So I've always kind of been like business wired. And so like lifting was always fun for me, but like that's really what it was, right? I never got super, super serious on a competitive level.
So do you think of, do you view like fitness, like training, like lifting, do you view it as more of an art, or is it an art, or is it a business? Like, how do you come, obviously it's both, right? Because you can get paid to do it, but do you look at it transactionally, or how do you look at it?
I look at it as art because you're building something. You're not just this is what you're getting. Like you're actually building something for somebody and building somebody off of that.
See, and I would expected you to answer that way. And then when you made that comment about how you like, because knowing you, right, and knowing you in like in real estate, like in what you do, like I mean, I think you're a businessman. Like it's sort of like.
It was definitely relational though. Like it was a numbers game, like on a relationship, because then you're making more of an impact, right? So I'm like, oh, how many people can I help with this?
Well, you want to feel good about it, but
and I'm also competitive where I'm like, oh, I want to like beat everybody else's, you know, I want to be the top trainer or whatever. But like it was always about the relationship, because like I'm sure you've had some clients like you don't have a great rapport and you're like, oh, this hour is like dragging. So like no matter what, like I would always like my number one goal was to build this great relationship with my clients, because it's going to make my job funner. They're going to enjoy it more. They're going to re-up on their packages. They're going to tell their friends. It's not fun for anybody if like you don't have a good relationship with a trainer and client. So
I was talking to somebody earlier today, and a loan officer, and they were just talking about like kind of this brain damage deal that they have that like has like all the stuff that like just makes it not a deal, and like and it was just like, look, my advice was like, it sucks. But again, it's just an at bat, right? Just like look at the file, learn what you can from it, and you can move on and apply. And again, I mean, I would imagine it's very similar. It's a miserable hour, but like, hey, it's still a craft. It's still an art, and I still have the opportunity to like practice it.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to learn. Like, okay, why am I not connecting with this person maybe as much as the other
Someone
person?
else,
and sometimes it's just personalities and stuff, but it's like, okay, like that's an opportunity for me to increase my conversation or increase how I can relate with different types of people.
Yeah, and I really envy that business hustle, because that's where I struggle with to get my own stuff going, because like the online training, I have stuff ready. Been talking to Robert about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get this, but just the motivation to keep it going and doing it, it's a lot of work to get started, and work. My full-time job has just been crazy busy, so when I get home, I'm like, I don't want to keep working more. Like I want to spend time at home. I want to hang out with my kids. I want to hang out with my fiance and do all those things and just hang out.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I didn't have a kid whenever I was doing all this stuff, so it's just different. But have you ever done online? Have you ever explored online training before?
Yeah.
I did it during COVID, and it kept me afloat, while the gym was closed. But I really did not I didn't like online training because it was missing that relational connection. It was just like I feel like I'm just pushing out programs. Hey, how was it this week?
Well, I remember in COVID, like, there was an opportunity we had to meet at your place and start working out again. It was like, dear God, absolutely. The minute I could be around people, I had to be around people.
Yeah. And the online thing is just more for like a side hustle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because I still do some personal training, but just the time that I would spend doing that, like the people that I do it for, I want to continue to do it for, but I also want to start increasing my revenue and things like that, because where I work, my salary is my salary. That's what I get. And it's great, but in order to continue to grow and do more things, then you need more. So and the economy is just horrible right now. So
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants a side hustle.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that, I mean, your transition to real estate, I mean, you are obviously you're competitive, right? You want to be like, I mean, you've done well at Remax, right? Like rookie of the year or something like that at one point, or like, or am I just making up awards, right? I think you're best.
I got rookie of the year my first year, and then I got top individual salesperson 2024.
Yeah. And so like you are competitive, but you also, when we talk about like the art and we talk about the business, you're also creative. I mean, I think, one of the reasons why we enjoy spending time together is because we're always trying to sort of figure out creative ways to like generate business. And so this is a brilliant opportunity for you to plug your podcast or your what are you doing?
We're just doing Market Monday. Every Monday we basically sit down and talk about the market, and just kind of like this, right? We just kind of just chop it up and just talk about real estate stuff. So really just anything valuable that somebody maybe that doesn't know about real estate, right? Because like this is like kind of our world, but we start talking about FHAs or buy downs and blah, blah, blah. Like nobody knows what that means, right? So I feel like it's just a good opportunity for us to kind of hop on and talk real estate, and kind of, I try to simplify everything and kind of make it like easy to digest for everybody, because that makes it more approachable. And I did the same thing for fitness, right? Like all my like Facebook posting and stuff I do real estate, like all started with fitness stuff, where I was like, okay, I need to be top of mind, right? I need to be posting fitness tips, meal prep stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I'd always just try to break it down to where it's actually approachable for people. And so now I'm just trying to do the same thing in real estate, where we just talk and make ourselves open and available for people.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many podcasts you guys have been on. Oh, I do. I know. I could probably know exactly how many you've been on. But like, one of the things that I enjoy about it is it's easy to retain information and learn by listening to people in a conversation. Like, I mean, that's just how like we learn, right? And so I think the podcast format, I like the fact that we do that, because it's a conversation between a couple people, and because it's recorded or whatever, people can pause and they can go back and they can take a look at it. But it's, I mean, we're not talking about anything that somebody can't figure out by doing like a Google search.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But like, do you know what I mean? Like we've talked about this a number of times. It's about like the connection, and so I think the podcast in this format allows us to like connect with people. It's
all about our personal experiences and our own stories and our own, like putting our own flavor on it, right? Because you can Google anything, but like, people care about people, right? So they want to hear our stories behind it, our experiences behind it, and and then especially if they know us, right? Like if they used to go to high school with us, or they know us from Facebook, like if we say something that resonates with somebody, they're probably more comfortable reaching out to us and asking questions versus trying to type it in on Google and figure out the perfect wording, or then you go down this rabbit hole of whatever.
Oh yeah,
Google,
I mean,
right?
you can get lost and get so much contradicting information just in the fitness world, and I mean, that's across any platform really. Like the opinions are opinions, and everybody has to feel like theirs is heard. And
right.
If theirs is heard, then theirs is right.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, you're absolutely. It's crazy, but I do think that there's a whole world of people out there that we know that want nothing more than for us to be successful. And social media allows us to see, I love social media. Like I'm addicted to social media, and I like want more of it, because I have like dozens of conversations with close friends of mine all across the country that are meaningful, constantly going on. And that's a connectedness that I love. But in terms of like, kind of like, like doing a podcast or just getting information out there and growing our spheres of influence and the people that we know, I mean, people root for us. Like you've got we all, and so the social media allows us to get out there and present. And I think the thing that's cool about the podcast is like, I mean, the first few that we did were like weird, like, but at this point, I feel like this is just how you and I mean, we could be sitting at Tazio's right now, and we'd have a very similar conversation. Yeah. And I just think it's like just the most effective way to like communicate to people and learn. And so, but were you ever in a band?
I was not. No, I played guitar for about a year, but that was it.
But you were in a band.
Yeah.
Yeah. See? So tell me about what we have in common. Tell me about your band experience.
So I played guitar for this band called Fall Down Running. We did pop punk. It was definitely not the kind of music that I was into. I was way into like hardcore metal, hard rock, that kind of music. And
hold on. What type of music do you like?
I like rap.
Yeah, I can get down some rap.
Do what?
Like what rap? Give me an example.
I mean, I can pull up my Spotify right now if you
So
want.
I went through,
I'm
like-
very all over the board a little bit because I grew up listening to like classic rock. Like
Okay.
my dad always had 101.1, right? So like
Right.
we had all kinds of.
But like T.I., like
No,
I've
I
gone
do
through,
not like T.I.
Okay, so give me somebody because I just finished my T.I. era. I'm actually in what's the Soldier Boy. I'm kind of on a Soldier Boy kick right now.
No.
So just give me a name so I have some sort of.
I really like J. Cole because like he doesn't.
Okay, all right,
yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, back to your band. Now that I have an understanding.
So we were never really like big or anything like that.
Yeah.
We had a couple albums that we recorded in our guitar player's basement and played some shows out around Kansas City, and it was fun. I love doing it.
Do you still play?
Yeah, a little bit, like sporadically.
With people?
No. Just my kids.
Yeah,
Both my kids
I
play
mean,
there.
that doesn't count, but I get it.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
But both of them are way better than I am right now, and it kind of just pisses me off. So I don't want to play anymore. But
Right.
they have the time to do it, and I was the same way when I was their age. And but yeah, music was like something that especially we talked about a lot, and like shared bands back and forth, and then our current Yes era at the
Right.
YMCA.
Yeah, it seems like every time we're at the gym, it's playing Yes.
Oh yeah.
Which is strange. I mean, I imagine Yes is strange to anybody. Yeah,
Do you control the
younger than
playlist?
you.
What's that?
No.
Do you control the playlist?
No,
or
this is-
what?
Yeah, I mean,
At the rec center, no, it has to be pretty.
Okay, yeah.
It's a city-run place.
Yeah.
So,
but it's
it
just
has
a
to be
random
PG.
thing. It's a random thing that like 70s prog rock band Yes is constantly on rotation on Saturday mornings at the Platte County like YMCA. Just
I don't even know who that is.
right. I didn't think you would. The thing that frustrates me, or now, I mean, I'd rather be in a band. I would just rather be in a band than doing what I'm doing. And but when I was younger, like I didn't really seize the opportunity. You know what I mean? I really didn't like completely 100% like dive into it. And then you were also like limited by like technology. Like you had to get studio time. Or I remember the drummer, our first drummer in my band, I think maybe sold a motorcycle or something to buy like a digital workstation, very similar to this thing that we had here. And, but now like all the technology is there and you can just make stuff sound amazing, like very low bar of entry.
Yeah. It's definitely easier to get that off the ground if you wanted to.
But what I want to do is I want like some group that's actively playing out that needs a bass player that is just playing songs that I can like figure out. I want to be in a band, but I want to do like very, very low like energy effort.
That's
because
funny.
I also kind of want to be in bed at 10. Do you know what I mean?
Let's start an acoustic cover band.
There you go.
No,
We can
I'm
go
not
play coffee
into,
shops.
I'm not into that. I feel like electric guitar. I mean, that's like the technology advanced to electric guitars. Why regress? I want to rock. And so I had a situation where Danny asked me to play bass with him like on a couple shows, and I felt like really cool about it. But then like my wife was like, "When are you guys playing again?" And after like a couple weeks, I was like, "I don't know if we're ever playing again." And I had a couple really kind of awkward conversations with other musicians around town, sort of like, "Hey man, like hit me up, let's play, let's do something." And now I think that probably the most like supportive thing I can do to the music scene in Kansas City is not to water it down. Like I think
Go support it.
Just to go cheer in the crowd.
Yeah, I'll just go do that. I'm past my rock band era. The other thing about the rock band era is I'm starting to be concerned that we were as good as I thought we were.
That's funny.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because it's like, it's been a big part of like who, like, I remember when I was selling cars, I would tell people like, I used to be in a band. Like that was like sort of my thing.
Yeah.
I have a closer, Haley, who I work with. She's like, "Hey, this is what's going on," and I'll be like, "Did you tell him that your loan officer used to be in a band?" And so now it's like I've even told him you're in a band,
Right.
So, I mean,
I'm gonna have to hear you play sometime.
I mean, I'll play. No, you don't want to hear me play. I'll play some music for you, and you'll be like kind of impressed. You'll be like, "This doesn't sound like shit," but it did for a long time. It did. Very similar to the podcast,
Right?
Fact,
Yeah, exactly. There's a learning curve.
The thing about the podcast that has been kind of cool is I have spent years talking to people like in sales, like 20 years, and I've done a good job because I've been successful, but I have nobody ever like, let's watch the tape, Robert, and see what it's like. And so when we started doing this and recording conversations, all of a sudden I was like, I mean, I say like every other word. I mean, it's not that I say it a lot. It's that I rarely like have verbs and stuff in sentences. And so I feel like it's been effective in helping me, like, you know, I mean, how do you feel about your,
it makes you more aware of like just weird things that like only you do, that you recognize that other people don't even like. You're like, why am I doing that or whatever? You know what I mean? So it definitely made me more aware of just random things that I do, like especially the first few episodes that we did.
Yeah.
I didn't even post. Like I haven't posted a ton of them, right? I'm like, I'm not posting this shit. You know what I mean? So, like I just ended up deleting a ton of stuff because I'm like, God. But it's definitely getting better for sure.
But
it makes you more aware.
But I would think like as a personal trainer, I mean, very similar to just sales in general. Like every opportunity that you have, you're working with, you're honing your skills.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
In some way, there had to have been some sort of level of word tracks that you guys were like learning for training. Is because in sales, you know, you learn like, hey, these are the word tracks for these particular objections or something like that. But I would say, like, were there not word tracks for like how to describe things, or was it really you just developed?
It's just your own flavor.
Yeah, it's your own thing. And I don't know, kind of outside of my area where I've worked, but in other gyms, I don't know if they have, like, most places have some sort of onboarding where they want you to come on and they're going to teach you their way to do things. And maybe that's where that kind of word tracks comes in, but like more of just like their suggested way to sell things. But at the rec center, we're not sales. So it's kind of, for better lack of term, take or leave it kind of thing. If you want to do training, great. We're here to help you, and we'll do, and you know, we'll get you where you want to be.
Right, but as you're going through processes, working with different people, you're like getting more effective and more efficient in the way that you like.
By the time from my first like person that I worked with to you, like it was so awkward. I was like deer in headlights for my first person, and she was like brand new to the gym, and like so I had nothing to lose. Like I wasn't going to go wrong or do wrong by this lady by any means. I could do anything, and she would get progress. Right. But I was so nervous and had this like pressure on me to perform and be a certain way that by the time I got like 3 sessions in, I was like, just stop, like just chill, you got this.
And so like in the transition to real estate though, I mean, like your first transaction, I mean, what was do your transactions today feel different than like that first transaction, or is it still just
for sure? I mean, as far as like the sales process, I don't really feel like a salesman like selling real estate, right? It's the same thing as like a personal training consultation, right? Like I just call it an initial consultation, and I'm basically trying to, again, relate with people on a human level, see if there's actually a need for what I am here to help them with. And if there is, then we move forward. And so I feel like I nailed down the consultation process really well with training, because we didn't have any kind of like preset way to sell, right? So I kind of just had to like learn through failure of like, God, I just bombed these last like 10 consultations. Like, what is wrong with me, right?
Yeah, and so, that just puts more pressure on, because you're stressing. You're like, man, I haven't gotten a sale in like these 10 people, and now what am I going to do? I've wasted 6 hours of time at the gym over 2 days, and like I got nothing to show.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of honed in like how
you're just one step. Every no is one step closer to that yes.
That's right. Yeah. So for me, like my first, like I have more real estate knowledge now, right? So I can speak more confidently to the process, to any potential headaches, or I can kind of like help set the expectation better for that. So way different than like my very first transaction. My first transaction, did I think I tell you that?
I'm sure you have, but I've forgotten.
So my very first real estate deal I ever did was one of my buddies from actually like my wife's friend, really from high school. His girlfriend was buying a house, and so I had just got my license a couple months ago. We start going looking at houses, just me and her. We get a house under contract, and then my buddy basically drives over to the house like the next day to go check it out. And he's like, Mike, the air conditioner's gone. Someone stole the AC unit.
Oh my God.
Oh man, my buddy John just had this happen.
And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh crap. So like, I'm like holding an open house open for my broker, and I'm like freaking out. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, what the heck? So I go look at like MLS. They just listed the air conditioning as other. So like it was never there the whole time. And I like basically got this house under contract with like no air conditioner unit. And I'm like, I wasn't even looking.
Was there an inspection?
Yeah, so we ended up doing the inspection.
It wasn't not working.
Yeah, exactly. We ended up backing out because of like a ton of mold issues and stuff. So thankfully that saved me. But I called my broker and I'm like, oh, I feel terrible. Like I'm gonna have to buy these people a new air conditioning unit or something if this thing closes. He's like, no, just back out of the, like during the inspections, back out. Like just find something to back out. He's like, you don't even look for the air conditioning unit. But now every single time I'm looking at the air conditioning unit. So yeah, you definitely learn some lessons the hard way. So yeah, I've learned, what to look out for, all that type of stuff. But as far as like working with people, I feel like I really developed that during training. And so that's always just been kind of like a natural thing for me since I've started real estate.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, I know the way that I talk to people today versus when I first got in the business. And I kind of had two versions of it. I had, when I was doing the consumer direct, the internet thing, I just had to like, I was dialing nonstop, just trying to have conversations. And it was just like every few conversations, I just got like a little step further or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then when I got into doing retail at Fountain, it was just a very similar thing. You just have to get the at bats, mm-hmm. and to figure that out. But I mean, so is that the craziest thing that you've been a part of in terms of a transaction, or
craziest thing? I'm trying to think. I don't know. I have to think about my craziest. Depends what you define as crazy.
Well, what's the most? I mean, have you had anything else jacked up happen in a transaction like that? I mean,
we just got done with that whole wood rot appraisal thing, which this all just kind of got. Well, we're not done yet, but yesterday I had to meet the people out there. But we court got thrown around as far as like having to do like a court battle for this appraisal thing. So that's the one I'm currently in right now has probably been like the most difficult as far as like trying to figure it out to where everybody's happy and everybody like the deal closes instead of like backing out the day of closing and then the seller's threatening to take us to court for not performing on the contract and all that type of stuff. So that's probably like the most stressful, like hardest one that I've done so far. And we're still,
but that's not common.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
As you started talking, I was like, I maybe shouldn't have asked that question.
I mean, most of the deals, stuff pops up on deals, but like for there's a solution usually. So, but as far as like your at bats and stuff, I feel like, tell me if I'm wrong, car sales is a different kind of lane more so than
there ain't nothing like it.
Yeah. Than mortgages versus I feel like personal training and real estate kind of have some similarities.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a decent amount of trainers that do real estate too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes sense because it's that sphere of influence thing. My wife and I talk about the other, it's like stylist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there are people in people's like what I want to do and what you want to do is you want to get to the client before anybody else has an opportunity to get to the client, right? You want as they just come up with the idea of selling or buying a house that you just happen to pop up on their screen, right? You want to generate, business that way. And I feel like personal training, you knew when shit was about to go down with me, right?
Yeah.
And you were probably telling your girl shit's about to go, even before I was telling you.
Yeah.
And so,
but we were almost in the same boat at the same time.
Yeah. It was interesting. And, but I think stylists, like hairstylists, like salons, I think that's a point. I do my open houses, but I feel like that's next level. I'm actually saying this on the podcast to hold myself accountable to doing that because I just feel like, people at in these places where they just open up to other people. To me, it's a great place to generate business. I would think
for sure.
Yeah.
I do. Mm-hmm. I do. Mm-hmm. No, it's definitely the motivation why, right? The family, being able to support the family, being able to, take them on vacations and, kind of do what we want to do and kind of have that lifestyle freedom, or at least not have to tell them no, right? I remember when I was only a part-time trainer, I was only making $20,000, $25,000 at that time when I first really gotten into it. And I was checking my bank account before I'd go get gas or before I go to the store and stuff. And Kels, we can't, we got to buy the on sale ones, not that one, because my card's going to bounce otherwise. And so I hated that feeling. And so, that's the that's where the motivation is to be able to provide for my family. And then also just the support, right? Like even this, right? Like leaving right now, like leaving dinner to like come do this, right? To work. And yeah, no, yeah, but it's just, like there's a sacrifice to, going out and showing, for 4 hours because we're trying to get a client or a contract. But like just having that understanding is really, really key. I feel like, because if you have somebody that doesn't understand or, isn't willing to sacrifice a little time right now for, maybe more freedom later, that can become difficult. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Both of them play guitar, and then my youngest, Jacoby, he plays drums too.
Nice.
He actually plays drums for honor band and his band class at Shawnee Mission.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know. I hope they do. I mean, they have guitars, they have amps, they have drum kits. So I mean, they do it their mom's for sure because she has a bigger place for them to do that. My place, they just have guitars and amps, and no drums yet. But hopefully, with the, maybe doing the personal training side hustle some more.
Yeah.
Get a bigger place. I know 2 guys now. I know real estate and mortgage. Like I'm hooked up,
taken care of.
Hey, thank you guys so much for being part of this. But better be.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a more legit setup. You know.
Okay. But this was like is the best one.
Yeah.
Probably edit all.
That's funny. No, I did think it was. Man, it sounds weird now taking these off. No, that was good. Yeah.
Feel better.
Is it Danny or Daniel?